Good afternoon, everyone. This is Rajiv S. Khanna from immigration.com, the law offices of Rajiv S. Khanna PC. This is our community conference call that we hold every other Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Let me just double check if you guys can hear me okay before I go any further. 1 second.
The conference is now in conversation mode.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The conference is now in presentation mode.
I am going to go over the frequently asked questions first. I don't think I mentioned today's date. Today's date is August 4th, 2022. So the frequently asked questions are questions that I think have common interest to a lot of people. So I marked them separately, and we also placed them in immigration.com frequently asked questions area. Excuse me. So the first frequently asked question is, after I get my green card, can I change my profession? Absolutely. So if you want to go from being an accountant to IT sector, absolutely okay. There is no problem. Next question is a little bit more, it has to be approached with a little bit more caution. How long should I work as an accountant before making a switch to the IT field? Well, the essence of a green card is that on the date you received your green card approval, you had the intention to continue working there indefinitely. It doesn't mean forever, although the commonly spoken word is permanently, but there's nothing permanent in this world. So all that is required is, on the date you got your green card approval, you had the intention to continue working as an accountant at the job that you last informed the government about for an indefinite period. Okay? So consider this situation. One day before you got your green card approval, you had started applying for technology jobs. And a week after you got your green card approval, you had started applying for technology jobs. Now, I am in kind of murky waters here because there is really no hard and fast rules here. But I think if you have a preconceived intention to leave as soon as you get a green card, it can be argued that that green card was not really appropriately obtained. Has the government ever made a big deal about this? They have. There are some cases in the books, not a whole lot, but there are some cases in the book where these issues have where these issues have come up. So the general consensus of the decision seems to be, as long as it was not a preconceived intention, it's okay to change. So I take the example, let's say that you've got your green card approval as a software developer, and 10 days later you get a great job offer from a Fortune 50 company with triple your salary and great benefits. Can you leave? Sure. Why not? Because I don't think you are confined to that job. So if you apply the same principles, how soon can you leave? I don't think there's a limit to it. If you see a better career opportunity, you could go. When does this issue become a problem? At the stage when you apply for your naturalization. At that point, the government can question these issues, question your intention, and if you have a good evidence, some kind of good evidence about the reason you changed your mind after you obtained your green card approval, you should be fine. Okay? So, bottom line, can you change your professions? Sure. How soon? As long as you did not have an intention to do so before you got your green card, your intention can change. I don't see any problem with it, and I cannot say that there is any particular time frame attached to it. If you have any follow-up question on this, press star 5. Star 5 if you have a follow-up question on this. Okay? Let's go on to the next frequently asked question. Okay, this is another one that I think I need to delve into a little bit. So typically people will ask, like this gentleman has asked, that I've got 25 publications in international journals. I review articles for 3 high quality journals. I currently have 358 citations. Now, can I get an EB-1A based green card? So I think the more appropriate inquiry should begin like this. Can I consider myself to be top 10% people in my field, nationally or internationally? That's the real question. There is no exact mathematical formula for this, but that's the question that we are answering when we look at EB-1As. There's no magic number on the number of citations. There's no magic number on anything. The key question here is, what is my field? That's tricky. For EB-1B, we know the field is anything in which you can get a degree. But for EB-1A, there is no such definition. So I think we have a little bit more freedom to define the field. For example, could I say that my field is cybersecurity of containerized applications, which is kind of a super specialized area? And the answer is, I could try for it. What is the advantage? The advantage is because the number of professionals is smaller. It might be easier to reach that goal of top 10%, but not always. So really the first question is top 10%. And underlying all this is the fact that this is purely a subjective determination. Ultimately, USCIS decides who qualifies and who does not, and their reasoning is often quite poor. Some of the best cases get thrown out, and some of the not so good cases get approved without too much problem. So therefore, looking at a resume, with looking at the countdown that I qualify under ABC criteria, of course, there are quantitative criteria and there are qualitative criteria, but I would really have to look at somebody's entire resume to give them some judgment, and I could be still completely wrong because I'm trying to guess the mind of another human being, which is at the best of times not an easy endeavor. So is it worth looking into it? Yeah, we've done plenty of green cards for, in fact, I have one right now who's going for an interview next week. She's also a college professor in India, very well qualified person. And we've got her EB-1A approval. She's just going for her green card interview. So yes, it is possible. I think we should look at your resume. You can email it to me to help@immigration.com. But just looking at the numbers is not enough. Let's look at your overall resume. *5. If you have a follow-up question on this, press *5. The next question also comes up quite a bit. The H-1B remainder option. It's important for you guys to understand what the remainder option means. So typically, H-1 is given only for 6 years. That's the maximum duration, right? You can extend it only if you have a green card process going for a certain period of time or a certain stage. So what if you have exhausted, as this gentleman did, only 3 years of H-1B, and then you left the United States? After, let's say, over 1 year, you want to come back. Now here you have two choices. Because you have been outside the United States for more than 1 year, you can get all 6 years of H-1B reset. So instead of having only 3 years remainder, you can actually get 6 years. But the problem is, if you choose that option, you will have to go through lottery again. How about the remainder option? I have already exhausted 3 years, but I have 3 more years left from that original 6 years term. Can I take that? Sure. Do I have to go through the lottery? No. So that's how it works. Now this gentleman, what happened was, didn't use 3 years on both my H-1B visas. Now this time I've come using the unused 3 years. Do I need to leave the United States? Yes, because you have a total of 6 years. You are using the remainder left on that 6 years. You cannot recapture any unused. There is no recapture of unused 3 years. You're already using it. You have to, yes, exactly. Excellent. You have to have your ETA 9089 pending for over a year or an approved I-140. There is no other way to extend this H-1B. Okay. Star 5. If you have a follow-up question on this, press star 5. All right. Let's see. I don't think there are any more frequently asked questions. Right. So now let's go to the beginning and start with the non-frequently asked questions. So there's a typo on the H-4 EAD card. The name printed on the card has one letter missing. My application has the name spelled correctly. Should I send the card back for correction or wait till my next renewal? I would wait till my next renewal. As long as your employer has no problem with it, I would not do it. Although I would do one thing. I would open a service request with the government saying you made an error, you send me a card, okay? And it should not cost you anything. Problem is, if you have to give them your card, existing one, Lord knows how long it would take. But I think opening a service request is important. Okay. Star 5 if you have a follow-up question on this. Star 5. Not on this. Let's go on to the next question. So applying for H-4 EAD, this is question number 4. Applying for H-4 EAD for spouse using the stamped visa in the passport and producing 797, which is the approval notice. My spouse's H-4 is expiring soon. We did not extend the H-4 in USA. We are going to get the visa stamped in India. Can we apply for H-4 EAD for my spouse using the stamped visa on passport? So in other words, are you asking me that, okay, I think I understand what your question. So the question is, we are not applying for an EAD right now. Can we go to India, get an H-4 visa stamp, and when we come back, apply for an EAD? Absolutely. You are not applying based upon the visa. You are applying based upon the I-94 that you get when you arrive at the airport. Okay? It's actually digital, but the point is that's what gets you the right. Now, if you are, this is also important, if you intend to come back before the current H-4 expires, I think you can even file the EAD right now if you are within the time that where you can, if you are within the window. But if you are going to come after her current status expires, then you shouldn't. Go ahead and get her visa stamp, come back, and then apply for an EAD. Star 5, if you have a follow-up question on this, press star 5. Okay. Will H-1B visa remain valid after change of employer? I am currently on an H-1B cap subject. Actually, this topic should be changed. This is not a correct description. So the question was, if I'm working for a for-profit employer and I go to work for a non-profit, what happens to my H-1B cap exemption that I already got by getting the first H-1B? I don't think that's a problem, because I believe that once you have, you're right, once you have already been selected in the lottery, you should be able to freely move between a quota exempt and a quota employer. I don't see any problem with that. Star 5, if you have a follow-up question on this, star 5. Okay, I have to change question number 5. I will. Okay. Then next question, number 6 is L1B to H1B change of status during travel to India, H-1B approved, but visa got stuck into 21G. Can I travel back to the US on L-1B? Yes, you can. So there is no law that says just because your H-1B was approved and got stuck in 221G processing, you cannot use the existing L-1B visa if you're coming back to the L-1B job in the United States. Absolutely, you can use it. And you can leave the H-1B pending with the consulate. I don't see any problem with that. Star 5, if you have a follow-up question. Star 5, a follow-up question on this. Okay. Let's go on to, we already covered this. Then we come to question number 9. We should have plenty of time for new questions, I think, because I told them to keep the question to 12 or below. So there is only 12 questions here today. 9th question is, H-1B visa transfer before stamping and I-797 notice of action. Okay. I'm currently on F1, got picked up for H-1B lottery this year. My petition has been approved. Oh, okay. So this should be changed. Yeah, this is also something, I think the title needs to be changed. So 5 and 9 I've got to change. The question really is this. So I'm a quota applicant, right? Since is it okay to start working for employer B, the second employer to whom I'm transferring, at the start of October 1st, or do I need to wait shortly after October 1st before I start working with employer B? Now, legally, I think if a transfer has already been obtained and you never go work for the employer who originally got you the quota exemption, as long as they did not revoke your H-1B before October 1st, the fact that you are directly joining with employer B, the second employer, should be okay. I don't see any problem. But if you want to be almost paranoid, you could go ahead and work a couple of weeks after October 1st with the employer who processed your lottery. But personally, I don't think it should make a difference. So when should you give notice? Obviously, after October 1st. So maybe October 2nd you can give notice. And if they revoke after that, it shouldn't matter. And what I would recommend also is this. You can start your H-1B process even before you give notice. Why? Because you can actually get an approval on the second employer and then give notice. So get an approval for the second employer, then give notice. Because remember, just because you got an approval of an H-1B for a second employer does not overrule the existing H-1B. You still have that. And it's perfectly okay to give notice after that. Okay? After the approval by the second employer. And all of this should happen after October 1st. You can apply for a transfer even earlier than that. But if you want to give notice, I think you could give it after October 1st, and even better after you get the approval from the second employer. Star 5, if you have a follow-up question on this, please press star 5. I'm trying to keep a count on 5 and 9 question. I've got to change the titles. They are misleading. Okay. Question number 10. Now I've got a green card based upon EB3 PERM. Do I have to provide a change of address? So the question is a little different. I just got issued a green card. So this one also I think needs a little tweaking. 5, 9, and 10. I got my green card issued. How long do I need to stay in this location before I can move to another state a couple of hours away? So here also I think the problem is the same. As long as you did not have the preconceived intention, I discussed this as the first frequently asked question today. As long as you did not have a preconceived intention when you got the green card approval, you could relocate anytime. especially if the employer requires it. Okay. Now, the question of how long do I have to remain at the same employer after I get my green card, and how long do I have to remain at the same location after I get my green card, they are the same question asked differently. So it's some ways it's easier to change locations than, or less troublesome to change locations. That, you know what, I'm going to lock the conference. Hang on one second. I think we are coming to the end, so I want to make sure that
The conference is now locked.
the people who are here who have questions get their questions answered. Okay, so that's the way it works. It's the same question asked differently. A *5 if you have a follow-up question on this. Press *5. Okay. Next question, question number 11. Can an H-1B visa holder change his mind about a visa transfer once approved? Absolutely. Now, the problem is the questions you have, all 4 questions are fairly lengthy questions. So I'm not going to be able to answer them all, at least not in detail. I'll give you the short versions. So can you change your mind? Yes. The law does not require you to change employers just because you got an H-1B approval. You can continue to work with the same employer. During green card process, this is the second question. Company's business unit is closed and I'm transferred to some other business. Is there a way to continue same green card process? You should talk to your lawyers. They will make arrangements so that this can be prevented. Short answer, it may be possible to file through the corporate headquarters. That way, no matter how many times you change, there is no problem. Third, one of my past employment was a 9 to 6, 5 days a week job, but I don't know if I was officially full-time. So can I take favor of doubt and use it as full-time? Not at all. That would be fraud. So you've got to figure out the hours and count them to your disadvantage, not to your not to your advantage. So always round down, don't round up. Okay. Last one, past employer does not have policy to mention tools and technologies. How do we document the skills? And the answer is, let your lawyers work that out with you. There are ways of doing that, including getting letters from your old co-workers and employer supervisors. So there are ways of doing that. These are very lengthy questions. So you should really stick with your lawyers to answer these questions. Very difficult for an outsider to do it. Okay. Then we come to the last question. Oh, before I go further, any follow-up questions on this, guys? *5 on your phone. Any follow-up questions? Okay. So the last question is, US citizen applying for mother currently in the USA. So this, what happened was, he applied for, Nikesh, just call me Rajiv. No need to call me sir. You applied for your mom. She was in India. You filed. Oh no, she's in the US. You submitted I-130, I-485, I-131, all these papers. So basically, you got the I-130 approval. You also got the EAD card. That means she is in process. No problem at all. No. Nikesh, what you should do is contact your congressman's office. Okay, let them contact the USCIS. There's no way they would send you an EAD if the file was in consulate processing. No, they can't do that. So I think there might have been an error. They might have done both things. I think the 485 still survives. Oh, there is one more question. *5 if you have a follow-up question. Press *5. Okay. Why are we getting all these questions? I had told them to block them at 12. Did they leave the thread open? Give me 1 second, guys. Let me just make sure this thread is closed. because I'm getting, well, the thread is locked. I have to talk to the team. They can't keep adding questions. That's very difficult for me to deal with. Okay, let's just go back to follow-up questions on mom first. Give me 1 second, sir. I'll be right with you. Mom. Here's mom. Okay. So, Houston, Texas. Go ahead, Houston.
Rajiv, this is Nikesh Patel. You just answered some questions about my mother who's in U.S. and I applied for her green card.
Right.
And I got an email from NVC that basically is saying that they're going to contact the Mumbai consulate for interview. So I'm confused. And when you were talking, I think it got cut off, so I didn't understand what do I need to do here.
I'll explain. So basically, these are two alternate processes. They should not normally proceed simultaneously. And if they are proceeding simultaneously, it looks like a USCIS error. But they would not give you an employment authorization if your 485 was not being processed. So the 485 is definitely being processed, but they might have also sent notification to the NVC by mistake. Now remember, you have 1 year to respond to the NVC. The notice should say that, right? So you have plenty of time to straighten this out with the USCIS. Best way to do it is just contact your congressman. Tell them, sir, can you help me understand what is going on? And they will be able to straighten it out within a couple of days. Okay?
Should I call USCIS and
you can
about it? Or
you can. I just
contact
the congressman directly because they are so much more effective in these problem cases.
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Good luck to you, sir.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody from Virginia, and I'm not sure. If it's a new question, put your hand down because I'm not done with the old questions first. Okay, Virginia, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, I have follow-up, but I can wait.
Is it followed? Does it follow up on what I just discussed? Mother's green card?
It's mother's green card. It's a renewal.
Mother's green card renewal. So wait till the end. Well, I just have 2 more questions, then I'll ask for hands.
Okay.
Just give me 2 more minutes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So these 2 questions have been added later. I'm going to have to talk to these folks. Temporary non-immigrant worker forms I-129, I-539. I have a full-time primary H-1B with my current employer, part-time concurrent H-1B with previous employer. Oh, so you did not reveal to the old employer that you have a second concurrent job. Unfortunately, you can never lie on immigration forms. That's a permanent bar from entering the US if the government considers that to be fraud. And it's definitely perjury, which is a felony punishable by 5 years in prison. So you have no choice. You have to tell the truth. You don't have any choice in this matter. *5 if you have a follow-up question on this. *5. Okay. Is there another question? Number 13? Nope. No, that's it. Folks, anyone has any question, please press *5 on your phone. Press *5. Anyone has any question. So I'm going to go in the order in which people logged in. I have only 3 questions today. That's unusual. Let's begin with Virginia. Ma'am, you can talk.
Thank you so much, sir, for...
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much for letting me in.
Absolutely.
My mom, she's 77. She got 10-year renewal done last year. I mean, we didn't finish it. She was due. Her green card expired last year, December 2021.
Right.
She was here when 6 months before, in June 21, June 22nd, 2021, we applied for I-90.
Right.
And she got a priority date of June 22. And when I look up online, even today, it says as of September 9th, 2021, it was after her biometrics was done. It says case is being actively reviewed by USCIS. Your next milestone, receive your case decision. And we haven't, and if I Google online, it says 13 months usually, but if priority date or receipt date is June 22nd, 2021, we already above 13 months.
Right.
But there's no more new updates.
Right.
Like I-90, there was one question, did you ever abandon your green card? And it was abandoned in 2015 because she was unable to return like 2 days before a year. So it was 2 days after the year, so they abandoned her and she got the blue card and processing done, and she returned a year later.
When you say a blue card, did you?
We don't know if that's the reason.
Do you mean the SB1 visa through the consulate?
Yes, SB1. Visa,
Okay.
Yes, we did that.
Okay.
And she was able
Yeah.
to come
So
back and
so
forth.
no, that is not a problem, ma'am, because if you got an SB1, that means they allowed that period as being okay. So legally, that is not a problem. There are three things you can do. I always use the congressman's office. Have our clients use and community use the congressman's office because it's easier. So you can just contact the local congressman and just tell them, I don't know what's going on. What is the status of my mother's case? Doesn't hurt to check. You can also open a service request if it's outside the normal time. And of course, there's an ombudsman's office also, but I'd rather you use the congressman. Excuse me. Okay.
And third option?
Third option is, I told you, the ombudsman's
I have
office.
this one.
I don't like that option. I like
have
the.
one.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
My mom wants to travel. She usually, even when she got her in September last year, she left for India for 6 months. And she usually stays 5-6 months here, 6 months there. And when she came back, she had a little bit issue, but they let her in March 2022. Now her 6 months is over next month. She wants to go again.
Now
but
let her.
she's allowed to leave the country.
Tell her to, first of all, tell her not to do this 6 month thing. Stay in the US more than she stays in India. Second, if she needs to travel, look at the receipt. You filed the I-90, right? I-90, that's what you filed?
Yes, I have. Yes,
Yeah,
I
the
have
receipt should say you can use this receipt to as a temporary green card. Doesn't it say that?
Only till December 2022. It's valid for 1 year. But if she leaves in September
Right.
or October,
Right.
she doesn't return by December, there's
Right.
nothing to come back next year. Like the 6
Then
months.
then what you can do is
So
you can hang on. You can make an InfoPass appointment and request that the USCIS give her an edit stamp. A as in apple, D as in doctor. Edit.
Yes.
Yeah. So get an edit stamp.
Temporary residence.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly like a green card.
And how long will that be valid?
I think 2 years.
How long will that be valid?
I think 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll try to do that.
Okay, so we have 3 more questions. Let's skip this one. Next one is Florida. Yeah, Florida, go ahead, please. I can hear you. Florida.
सत श्री अकाल राजीव जी.
Sat Sri Akal ji.
Sir, I have a quick question. Like, I have recently got my I-140 approved under 485, and my 485 has also been transferred under EB2 category, and still nothing yet. And 485 was filed under EB3 back in 2020 when the date was current.
Right.
So I downgraded at that time, but right now I came back again into EB2 under new I-140 approved.
Okay.
And does it take longer time to now, since the date is already current, right? So which I falls under that period. So does it take longer time to get it?
Hang on one
green card,
second.
or it's going to be quick?
Hang on one second. So let me understand the facts of your case. We had an I-140 approved under EB2. Then you put it for downgrade under EB3. Did you also file a 485 with that, with the EB3?
Yes.
Okay. And then now this is the part that you need to focus on. When you ask them to reconnect your 485 with your EB2, did you do it through that special address that they had reserved for these cases, filing supplement J?
I think so. That's what my lawyer has filed it.
That's very good.
Because previously when they filed in back in 2020 downgraded, they did not file a new 140 actually. They amended. But right now I filed EB 240 again as a new, and it got approved. And
well,
transferred 485.
I think
485.
I think it should be as quick as anybody else's case, because you've got the approval, I-140 approval, which is one of the main things. So you should be able to get this through. Hopefully, fingers crossed for you, by September this year. Otherwise, next year, the next year's fiscal year, which is October 1st, the quota gets reset. So hopefully, we are seeing a lot of green card approvals. Some of them are actually erroneous. There are problems with them, but they are approving a lot of them as quickly as they can.
My question was like, is it a good idea to talk to the congressman or send an email to congressman to get the expedited, or should I wait until like?
They can't expedite. They can't expedite.
Timelines.
They can't expedite. They can't expedite like that. I don't think it will be any use. Okay, you just have to wait.
But even if the date is, and even then they will not be able to help.
If the date is passed, you can contact the congressman. They might say, you know what, why are you not contacting USCIS? Let them know that the next fiscal year is right around the corner and things will slide back again. I really need somebody to deal with this urgently. Okay.
Okay.
That's your best bet, I think.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Bye-bye. Okay, last two questions. This one is from New Jersey. Yeah, New Jersey, go ahead, please. New Jersey?
Yeah, this is Kuldeep here.
Yeah, Kuldeep.
I have one question with respect to marriage. I'm on H-1B. My I-140 is approved in 2017 December. I am a widowed person, and I have one kid who is born here. And I found one person who is on B1, B2 recently, and she is here in US since 3 months. Now, can I marry legally? She also have one daughter.
Okay. So let me get this.
Can I marry her here legally?
Yeah. One second. Kuldeep ji, one second. So you are a US citizen.
Yes.
You are widowed.
No, I'm on H-1B.
You are on H-1B. Okay. So you are on H-1B.
That's correct.
She is visiting on tourist visa. Did you guys know each other from before?
No. I just came to know from my common friend.
Okay.
And she came here for visiting. She went to all our places and all. And then I came to know
you can definitely.
I've not yet met also. She's in Dallas.
Yeah, you can definitely get married and apply for her H-4 change of status here. It will be probably questioned. And as long as this was not intended before she entered and just came about, no problem at all. How old is her daughter?
She is 11. My son is 6.
Yeah, I think you should be able to file for her as well. Have your lawyers double check that. As far as I remember, children under the age of 18 can be acknowledged even if they are stepchildren, and under the age of 14 can be adopted. I don't think you'll need to formally adopt her. I think as long as you acknowledge her as your child, you should be okay. I don't remember all the details, but the child should be okay as far as I can tell from what I can remember. Okay?
Sure. One last question is like, is it something like instead of adjustment of status, because I will be also filing my I-140 with her once we get married, but is it something like she has to go to India, then
No,
come
no,
on
no.
H4? That process
No, no,
is
no.
safer or
No, no,
adjustment of status?
no. You can do H4 change of status for her. Okay. But if you want to do it differently, you can get married and have her get an H4 visa stamp and come back. That is probably marginally safer. But if you have clear proof that she had no intention to get married and you had no intention to get married to her, I don't think it should be a problem. No need to go outside.
Sure. Okay.
Good luck.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay, last question of the day. 1 second. Let's skip this one. There was a question here. What did I just do? Hey. Oh, 1 second, guys. Yeah, okay, I did that right. Just 1 second. Last question is from, looks like Arkansas. Arkansas, go ahead, please.
Hello, Rajiv. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So EB 485 filed in EB3. Priority date is 2014. Never current in the past under final action date, but have a EB2 I-140 from previous employer, and my 485 was approved and I have green card. And I called in USCIS service request Tier 1 and Tier 2, asking them to confirm if this was 485 was approved correctly. So after 10 days, I got a call and they sent an email saying that they did thorough inquiry and they could not find anything, and they are redirecting my service request to the NVC center wherever my 485 was approved.
Yeah, they can't.
And NVC center sent an email.
Go ahead.
Personal email, but they gave a generic response. They did not. All I asked on my service request was, I clearly told them that I have filed in EB3, but I got approved in EB2. Maybe you use my previous employer EB2 I-140.
Yeah.
All I said was, please confirm if this was approved correctly.
Right.
They just gave me the same information back. All they said
now,
was, this 485 was approved under.
There are two ways you can deal with this. Okay. One way is to contact your congressman's office. By the way, you are the 20th person with this story. I've heard this story from 4 of our clients and 16, 17 other people from the community. What you need to do is, one way to do it is, I think the better way is just contact your congressman. Tell them, I don't know what the hell is going on. Can you please help? Okay. Second way is, which I don't recommend because it's just, I don't know. I think it's, if there is a policy to approve these green cards, which I think is illegal, I would rather have the congressman get that information for you. The other way to do it is to file a form, I'm trying to remember, I-90, saying that there is an error in the approval, and that way they will confirm one way or the other. But I think, why should you pay money for this? Actually, you don't have to pay money for that kind of an I-90 for service error. I would say still, your best bet is contacting your congressman's office. Okay, and keep track of all your efforts so that tomorrow if this becomes an issue, you have a way to deal with the government. Okay, so if you talked with somebody, keep track of the date, the officer's number or first name, what they told you, etc. Okay, this is a mistaken approval. I don't think this approval should be, unless they've rewritten the laws of this country, which I don't think they have the power to do. I don't see how they can approve. All right. Are you good, sir?
Yes, Rahul. Yes, Rajiv, I'm good. Thank you.
Excellent. Very good, folks. Those were all the questions we had today. Today was a little bit shorter meeting. Good to see you all. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.